Hello guys, welcome to another episode of Clues, Cues and Reviews. It's my third video of the night, and today we're looking at Seven Deadly Sins. So the chapter itself was released. Thankfully we've got a quick scanlation as always, so let's get into it. This chapter for me had some fighting, had a lot of humour, had some adult humour, add some more comedy in there. So quite a lot of comedy, pretty simple chapter, bit simple fights in it, and set up for the next chapter. But without further ado, let's get into the review. So, point number one. A relatively simple one, I guess. The winners have been announced. It's official. Elaine and Elizabeth have actually won their first match. The losers actually fall in a hole. So effectively, Elaine's like healed them up and whatnot. And they're like, oh, we're from Markia town or blah 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 blah. And before they can really do anything, they're sucked in a hole. Elizabeth nearly fell in, but Elaine saved her. And then you get Meliodas and Ban in the background going, oh, we didn't have to worry about them. They even said like later on in the chapter, if it's good that weaklings didn't have to fight Elaine, what would happen to them then? So it's an interesting little point there, but to be fair, it just sets up the next point, which is point number two. So point number two, and this was pretty much the main chunk of the actual the manga chapter today. It was funny as hell because it's weird because Ban and Meliodas look like they're fighting, but they're not fighting. And are they fighting the opponents? Are they not fighting the opponents? They really don't know, and they seem very confused. So there's a few things that make it seem like they are, but they're not. So to explain, so Ban and Meliodas are like, okay, we're up next, and they know they have to fight against those demons that were there. So there's three demons, two of them. And they go, oh, well, them are meant to be fast, and he starts seeing them flying around, and then Meliodas and Ban are talking, and Ban's like, oh, I bet you just want to rush this so you can get back to Elizabeth, and he goes, well, yeah, don't you want to go back to Elaine? And they start arguing, and what's funny is the whole time they're talking about boobs and asses, and then you've got on the other side Ban like, oh, it's about the subtle nuances and stuff like that. And it's funny how they have this conversation, and the whole time the enemy is attacking him. There's one point they're talking, and Ban loses an arm, comes straight off his off the wrist, and Meliodas like, what happened to your hand? Ban's like, don't change the subject. And next thing you know, something hits Meliodas on the face, and it's like a claw talon that's stuck to his head. But they put so much force into it, and because he didn't move, the actual arm of the talon came off. And like, there's something on your face. He goes, you're changing the subject now. And it gets to a point where they start fighting. So Ban tries punching Meliodas, but he kills one of the demons, and then Meliodas punches Ban, and he falls into one of the demons, and without them knowing it, they've actually killed both demons and they won the match. So the whole time they're arguing about tits and asses and who's better and blah 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 blah, and ultimately they beat the enemy without even realizing, and that's where they make the point where if these weaklings went against Elaine and Elizabeth, they would lose. So it's just a weird chapter. They talk about boobs and ass the whole time, and pretty much them type of perversions, and they beat the enemy at the same time who were relatively so weak compared to them. So they made it look easy, but it was kind of done in a really weird way, which was funny at the same time. So it's just a funny part of the chapter, but that's point number two. Point number three. So point number three, relatively simple point, but an interesting point nonetheless. So towards the end of the fight, Meliodas and Ban are talking about the girls, and Ban says, well, Elaine's like the best, top of the top, because she defended the fairy kingdom for 700 years when her idiot king brother ran away and did whatever he was doing. And then we get this interesting tidbit when Elizabeth converted an army of demons with her power. But she's a god's assistant or god apprentice or whatever, right? And man goes, when did she do that? And Meliodas is like, a long time ago. So is this Elizabeth, or is this Liz, or is this a previous incarnation? Is this one of those situations where, because she's this goddess thing, right, she keeps reincarnating, and Meliodas keeps falling in love with the same girl, and that's part of his curse, maybe, or that's kind of his curse to live that life being a demon, falling in love with the goddess apprentice, and so on and so forth. So it's an interesting tidbit. I'm hoping to find out more about that. We haven't really seen the full capacity of Elizabeth's god assistant type of magic that she's got from that god clan, but it's an interesting tidbit to mention, really, I guess. But that's what I thought was interesting. So that's point number 3. So point number 4, another little tidbit. The two of the 10 commandments, Glokshina and the giant dude, are basically talking, and they're talking about the strength and power of Meliodas being, as real as it's supposed to be. But Glokshina says that other people have caught her attention. Now, does she just mean the other 7 deadly sins, or are there other people in there, like Hauser, like Gilfunder, or Gil Frost, or whatever his name is, the magician, have caught their attention? We're gonna have to wait and see who she really means, but it's interesting to know that other people have caught their attention, and ultimately this is going to play a role in the part of the story to come. But that's point number 4. So point number 5. Point number 5 starts with King and Diana fighting against basically the creations of the two 10 of the 10th commandments. So the 2 of the 7 deadly sins going against the 10 commandment slaves, I guess, or creations. So it'll be interesting to see what they can do, because they're lesser forms of their makers. It'll be interesting to see how they perform and what happens. What made this funny is the king is just having the biggest nosebleed of his life, and Diana's like, "Are you okay, little man? You bleeding? I didn't see you take an attack. What's going on?" And then she puts him in her booth and she goes, "I'll protect you. You'll be fine there." And he's like blowing out blood. It's funny because it's that adult kind of humor. It's a lot with the manga. You see that in Japanese when they have nosebleeds because something perverted thoughts are going on. It just made me laugh. He's practically dying because I'm at my limit. What do I do? And then that's the end of the chapter. So it sets up, there's basically going through the initial rounds fights. So there's 16 of them, there's going to at least be 8. We've already got through 2 already pretty quickly. So there's going to be at least another 6 more, with this setting up Diana and King. An interesting matchup. So there's a little tidbit that I thought I'd mention. If you look at all the different pairings, you've got Elaine and Ban, you've got Elizabeth and Meliodas, and then you've got King and you've got King and you've got Diana. There's a big mismatch between them, and it's weird how that's done in the story. And then an interesting thing that could be done on the back of this is it's not about the compatibility of your height, it's the compatibility of your hearts, I guess. So that's the point maybe that he's trying to make in the story, but just an interesting tidbit that I'd mention there. But yeah, that's all for me today, guys. Please like, comment, subscribe and share, as it does help me. It does kind of boost my confidence, and you'll get to see regular updates from myself. And as always, take it easy. Peace.